Welcome to Daifuku Automotive Reynoldsburg. We're thrilled to have you on our team. My name is Ernie Lang, and I serve as the Senior Safety Compliance Manager for this location and a few others. No matter where you are in your career, whether this is your first job or your next big step, safety is the foundation of everything we do here. It's not just a rule, it's a mindset that protects you, your coworkers, and the success of our entire operation. Today's safety briefing is your first step towards building that mindset. Before we teach you any job specific tasks, we want you to think safety first and always. You're now part of our safety culture, and your commitment makes a real difference. Together, we can keep our workplace safe and strong. Why does this matter? Well, statistics show that most workplace accidents happen to employees who are new to their role, and that's why we take this seriously. You may recognize some topics from past experiences, but pay close attention. Our methods may be a little different, and they're designed to keep you safe. At the end of this session, you'll sign an acknowledgement confirming that you have received and understand this training. The signature isn't just a formality, it's your pledge to work safely and help us maintain the highest standards. So, welcome aboard, and let's make safety your first success here at Daifuku. Thank you.
A brief description of Daifuku AMUS. The AMUS facility in Reynoldsburg produces and assembles the mechanical and structural components that support automotive automation. This includes steel fabrication, including laser cutting, bending, and welding of parts, to building complex automation systems like conveyors and material handling systems that are installed in automotive plants. Section 2. Employee Rights and Policies Procedures. Employee right to stop work. Daifuku employees have the ability to remove themselves from work or situations that they consider a present and imminent danger to their life, safety, or health, without the risk of undue consequences or retaliation. Daifuku Automotive America Intranet. To access the H&S manual, go to the Daifuku Intranet homepage. Click on Internal Control, ISO, search for the file name hsms00.00.docx6. Continually improve safety. Daifuku places great emphasis on safety. The company provides monthly safety training for shop employees. Job Hazard Analysis, a systematic tool found on the AMUS intranet used to improve workplace safety, meet OSHA requirements, and foster a strong safety culture by proactively finding and mitigating risks. Work Instructions, also found on the AMUS intranet, explains each job in detail. Daifuku also manages a safety team and incorporates the Safety Matters program. Employee Responsibilities, Policies and Procedures. Work in compliance with the occupational safety and health regulations. Work in compliance with established corporate safety and health policies. Report any hazardous conditions or unsafe practices immediately to a supervisor. Obtain first aid promptly. Section 3. Emergency Response. Reporting Requirements. What is an emergency? A fire. Hazardous spill. Active shooter. For severe weather. These are the reporting requirements during an emergency. First, determine the type of emergency. Then, report the location of the emergency to the lead of the department and/or manager. Finally, the management or lead will determine actions to take. Evacuation process for fire. Once an alarm has sounded or an evacuation has been signaled, the following actions will be taken. Everyone will evacuate the facility using the evacuation plan provided for each area. Exit routes will be determined by the location of the employee at the time, and by any obstructions that may block a particular exit path. Evacuations will be conducted in a safe, orderly manner, and the employees routed away from the hazard. Emergency response sweep teams will check their designated areas before reporting to their meeting point. Meeting point coordinators will perform a roll call and make sure all employees have been evacuated. Employees are to report to their assigned meeting point if safe to do so. Otherwise, they are to report to the nearest meeting point and check in with the meeting point coordinator at that location. Please note that there are fire alarm pull stations located next to each man door. Evacuation process for severe weather. When necessary, the notice to evacuate to the severe weather areas will be given by the emergency response coordinator or the highest-ranking member of management present. There are 4 severe weather shelter-in-place meeting points. If you are in the purple zone, areas 1 and 2 are located in the large lunchroom. The gray area will take shelter in the men's locker room at the southeast end of the shop. The following steps should be followed in severe weather situations. Stop all work and, if possible, turn off all machinery. Stop all vehicle traffic. Once at a meeting point, all employees are to remain there until a return to work signal is given to the meeting point coordinator by the facility response coordinator. Once the threat is no longer present, the emergency response coordinator will direct personnel appropriately. Evacuation process. Threat of physical harm or bomb presence. Active shooter response. Remember, run, hide, fight. Be prepared. If a safe path is available, run. Do not hesitate to get out. Leave your belongings. Do not attempt to move injured people. If you cannot get out safely, hide. Be quiet and silence your phone. Block entrances and lock doors. Stay out of shooter's view. If your life is in danger, fight. Try to disable the shooter. Use improvised weapons. Fight like your life depends on it. Bomb presence response. If a suspicious device is found on premises, note the exact location and description of the object. Clear the area for 300 feet. Do not pull the fire alarm. Alert the emergency response coordinator or a manager. This person will analyze the situation and take appropriate action, up to and including facility evacuation. Evacuation. Hazardous spill. If a hazardous spill or leak occurs that is a threat to life or health, take action as follows. Evacuate personnel in the immediate area of the spill. Notify senior management personnel and the emergency response coordinator immediately. They will determine whether it is necessary to evacuate personnel. Accidents and injuries. All injuries, accidents, and near misses must be reported immediately. No exceptions. You are also required to report unsafe or unhealthy conditions in the workplace, including and not limited to defective tools or other equipment, failure to follow established safe job procedures, the removal of any guarding, and if the lockout-tagout procedure is not being followed. Accidents and injuries. Reporting. If an employee is injured in your work area, activate the nearest medical emergency alarm by hitting the red button. The first aid team will react and report to the area to assess the situation. Employee will be taken care of by the trained first aid team, who are trained in basic first aid, CPR, or cardiopulmonary resuscitation, the use of AEDs, or automated external defibrillators, and the proper cleanup of fluids that may contain harmful pathogens. Investigation will take place and report procedure followed. Near miss. What is a near miss? Simply put, a close call. The individual or individuals involved were not injured. The near miss may have resulted in damage to property. If the problem is not attended to and corrected, it more than likely will result in one or more of your employees being injured or acquiring an illness from its cause. If an employee sees or is involved in a near miss, it must be reported immediately. Get a near miss report form from the shop office. The form can be turned in anonymously in the near miss box outside the shop office or hand it to management. Investigation will take place and the report procedure followed. Injuries in the workplace. First, respond to the situation. Next, let your lead or manager know. Then, activate the medical emergency alarm in area. Prepare by knowing where first aid kits and AEDs are located. Injuries in the workplace. Bloodborne pathogens safety. Bloodborne pathogens are viruses and bacteria found in blood cells and body fluids. Follow our bloodborne pathogens policy found in the H&S manual via the Daifuku intranet homepage. Search document HSMS_06.01.docx. To follow bloodborne pathogens safety guidelines, you must treat all fluids as infectious. Use personal protective equipment like gloves and a face mask to prevent contact with blood. Clean up the right way. When cleaning up materials that have been exposed to blood, never use bare hands. Wear gloves and use tongs or a brush and dustpan for broken glass. When administering first aid, protect yourself first before treating the victim. Place contaminated materials in labeled sealable containers that are color-coded or marked with a biohazard label. Injuries in the workplace. First aid kits. On-site first aid kits include various Band-Aids, sterile tape, gauze, swabs, various sprays, scissors, ointments, burn dressing, sterile gloves, aspirin, Tylenol, cold medication, stomach medicine, and more. All employees are free to use first aid kits while in the facility. There are several located around the shop. Injuries in the workplace. Trauma kits and AEDs. On-site, trauma kits include tourniquets, hemostatic gauze, pressure bandages, and chest seals. It also includes personal protective equipment like nitrile gloves and tools like trauma shears for cutting clothing. Other components are airway management devices, tape, and an emergency blanket to address wounds and keep the patient warm. There are 2 AED and trauma kit stations on site, located approximately here and here in the shop area. Injuries in the workplace. Eye wash stations. Emergency eye wash stations are located at these approximate positions on the shop floor. In the case of a chemical eye injury, go immediately to the closest eye wash station. If possible, yell for help so that another employee can help you walk safely and quickly to the eye wash station. The first 10 to 15 seconds after exposure are critical. Activate the eye wash station. Flush your eyes continuously for a full 15 minutes while keeping your eyes open with your fingers. Roll your eyes in all directions to flush every area of the eye. If you wear contact lenses, begin flushing over the lens immediately. Do not delay flushing to remove your lenses. Remove the lenses once flushing has begun so the chemical is not trapped in your eyes. After flushing, seek immediate medical attention. Section 4. Employee Equipment Safety Responsibilities. Employee Responsibilities. Pedestrian Awareness. As a pedestrian in the shop area, special awareness is key to your well-being. Watch for forklifts. Signal your intended direction at intersections or when walking around a forklift that is in use. Be aware of crane operations. Keep eyes on the load. Don't put yourself in pinch points. Man lifts operate inside of the shop building. Watch for overhead work. Keep out of coned areas. AMUS equipment. Forklift. The forklift operator has control of the interaction. Be sure to find a clear place to move out of the way free of hazards. Each operator must have forklift training and certification prior to operating a forklift. Perform and fill out a safety inspection prior to operating. Be sure the forklift is able to handle its intended workload. Always sound the horn at intersections and blind corners. 10 rules for forklift safety. Use safe speeds. Avoid abrupt stops. Pedestrians always have the right of way. Don't pick up riders. Be aware of fork position. Keep right in lane. Watch out for blind spots. Keep alert for floor conditions. Slow down and sound horn at corners. Keep the load level and stationary when in motion. AMUS equipment. Crane. Crane certification training is required prior to operating any crane in the shop. Perform an inspection and fill out a crane inspection sheet prior to operation. Inspect all rigging for defects prior to use. Never walk or stand under a suspended load. Here are some examples of damaged rigging, including severe chemical damage, severe heat damage, abrasion and melting, chemical damage, illegible identification on labels, ultraviolet ray damage, punctures and cuts, knots, and severe abrasion. AMUS equipment, aerial lifts. Certification of training is required before operating both boom and scissor lifts. Pre-operational inspection is required. Fall protection is required in all aerial lift operations. Don't exit the basket while off ground. Must remain at least 10 feet from all energized electrical sources. Always operate within the manufacturer's specifications. AMUS equipment, ladders. Inspect your ladder before using it. Always maintain 3 points of contact. Never use the top 2 steps. Ensure your base is secure and stable. Only use a ladder or step ladder for light work in a safe environment with a firm and level base. Do not overload a ladder or step ladder or carry loads on ladders. Never use the top 2 steps on either a ladder or step ladder. Do not extend ladder while standing on the rungs. AMUS equipment, lockout, tagout. Use only the lock issued to you. Never use or remove another person's lock or tag. Be sure there is sufficient lockout-tagout equipment available for the job. Lock or tag must be identifiable with name, phone number, and company name of person it belongs to. AMUS equipment, fall protection. All fall protection is required to have an annual documented inspection. The user should also inspect all components of the fall protection system prior to each use. The user should also assure a properly fit harness, and if there are any defects, remove it from service. Each user must be trained, and if you are unsure about any component or technique related to fall protection, ask questions. A 4-foot height tie-off requirement is general for industry work. AMUS equipment, fire extinguisher. Extinguishers are located throughout the building. They are located in the office area and are labeled with a sticker. Extinguishers in the shop are on red columns and on all welders. During all hot work, a fire extinguisher is required to be close by. To operate a fire extinguisher, remember the PASS or pass method. Pull, aim, squeeze, sweep. Hazard communication, SDS, safety data sheet. A safety data sheet, SDS, is a standardized document that contains crucial occupational safety and health information. Every chemical in our facility is required to have an SDS saved in our library. Safety data sheets should be consulted whenever information is needed for a hazardous material, including a spill, proper PPE to handle the material, and the medical reaction one can expect when coming in contact with the material. Safety data sheets follow a standardized structure consisting of 16 sections. Section 4 of any SDS provides information about first aid measures in case of exposure. Section 8 provides information about the type of personal protective equipment to use when handling the chemical. Hazard communication, labeling. All chemicals must come into the facility with the manufacturer's label on it, and the label must remain legible while in-house. If a chemical is put into a secondary container, it must have a proper label on it with SDS information. The only exception to this is if the chemical will never leave the control of the person who placed it in the container. Hazard communication. Safety signs. Sometimes, signs provide warnings or reminders to use extra care. Choosing to ignore signs can cause serious injury or even death. Always take special precautions when you see a danger sign. Signs can warn us to stay away, or they can remind us to use extra care. They were put in place for a reason.